Alright, looks like everybody's here. So let's get started on our channel maintenance here. Over and put up our thumbnail and stuff. We're going to be doing some New World today. Because that's what we do. We play New World. At least for right now. Because it's so much fun. Games. New World. Yahoo! Alright, let's get that saved. And then let's get going on the game here. So, why does everything look weird? There we go. Textures are finally starting to load in. What the hell's going on there? For the first time, gosh, in months, I actually had to wait to get logged in here. There were like 50 people in the queue ahead of me for NVIDIA GeForce Now, which was kind of crazy. So I had to wait almost a half an hour to get on and play the game, which was insane. That never happens. But I guess, I mean, even during the summer it didn't happen, so, I mean, I guess it's the holiday. I guess people getting off of work and students getting off of school kind of all coming together. But I didn't have the problem yesterday. My concern is that maybe NVIDIA might be artificially creating the problem because we're about a month out from when they're going to be switching to their 100-hour maximum usage. And I'm concerned that they're just artificially creating the problem so that people will feel better about the fact that they're reducing their availability, their usage numbers. So, yeah, kind of concerned about that. What's up, Quizza? How are you today? How goes life, the universe, and everything? Let's see, what do we got going on here? Let's do some activities. We didn't do all of our activities yesterday. We only did like one expedition, and we didn't do any of the soul trials because I'm a trash can. But we'll try and get some more of this stuff done today. Let's put that in there. Very boring. I feel like you need to start streaming like me, Quizza. Because that's why I started streaming. I was bored. I had to overcome my boredom. It's nice to be able to talk to people every day. Gotta get in there and do some streaming. Oop, there goes my team.
Tread carefully.
Do I actually care about this quest? I don't even know if it's actually going to do anything useful for me. Oh, are we short a person? Is that what's happening? Thank God you backed up into those other enemies, you fucking clown shoe. Oh my god, dude. Why is everybody an idiot? hate all of you so much. Like, I can't even express the degree to which I hate other people. My freaking goodness. If you don't stop aggroing things, I'm gonna let you freaking tank them. 'Cause you're an idiot. That's true. You would probably need a microphone. Do you not have a headset with a mic on it or anything like that? Because when I first started, I was just rocking the headset mic. That's perfectly fine. Don't hurt nothing. Hey, look at all those enemies that are attacking you because you aggroed them. Because you don't have any freaking brain cells. I hate you so much. I hate you more than anything. Hate you so much now. See how much I hate you. You are the most hated thing in the world now. It is true, though, that a microphone is one of those things you just sort of have to stream. Got good headphones, but that thing does have a mic, which sucks. I mean, that's fine. Most microphones are kind of garbage. The point is that you just need to get some software. I use Voice Meter Banana. But as long as you snag up some software... What are we doing? Why are we killing these enemies? As long as you get some software to adjust your levels and stuff like that, and to put some gates so that you can try and cut out some of the bad sounds, then you can just get pretty much any mic to work at least decently well. So if all you have is a headset... Okay. Oh, it doesn't have a mic. Got it. Got it. Okay. I see. I misread something there. Misread. Yeah, but I mean, you really don't need... Like, the cheapest one you can get is more than usable. No, we're not going to try and clump things together. We're just going to run around like insane people. What in the hell are you people doing? Why are we pulling aggro from two different sides? Holy crap balls. I'm leaving this dungeon. I'm not playing with these people. Not happening. Are you serious? Wow. So I get a penalty for deserting, but they don't get a penalty for being absolute freaking dipshits. Oh, look at me. I just run around and do whatever I want and aggro 14 million things, even though I'm the DPS and I have no hit points and I just die. Because the world revolves around me and I get to do whatever I want. I hate everyone. They are all so freaking dumb. Why are you already shooting that person? How could I possibly get that aggro? It's not even almost possible. Absolute. Why did we aggro? Oh my gosh, you don't even have to aggro those. You can just run past them. It's fine. My goodness, people. Hey, what's up, Vader? How are you? How was your holiday? Is nobody else attacking this enemy? Back in the search for a new game. I thought Stalker could keep me engaged till Christmas. Yeah. It's rough to be a gamer, let's face it. Yeah, I'm kind of bouncing around games right now because I really enjoyed Once Human, but I'm having a really hard time. Um, I'm having a really hard time finding a game that doesn't just have some really glaring problems. Especially these PvP games. So I like PvP more than just plain PvE games because the PvP games create dynamic situations where, playing against other players just means that you can never predict what's going to happen exactly. And so every engagement, every encounter is a little bit different. And I really like that. But the problem is that those games are never balanced very well. And they just end up kind of being garbage. What are we doing? Where are we going? We're going this way? Does anybody have any flippin' clue what's going on? No? None of you have any clue what's going on? Cool. Yeah, there are, so coming out fairly soon. You're gonna have let's see, on December 6th, Path of Exile 2's early access is dropping. Unfortunately, the early access for Path of Exile 2 is going to be $30. So I'm not going to buy it. Also, there's a pretty decent chance that the early access of Path of Exile 2 won't be on NVIDIA GeForce Now. Path of Exile is on NVIDIA GeForce Now, so I'm sure that Path of Exile 2 will be. Hopefully fairly quickly after its launch. That game's shaping up to be really, really good. But, so that might be something you can play. I don't know how you like ARPGs, or if you've ever played Path of Exile, the original, or anything like that. But it's a solid game. A lot of fun. I'm very excited for the second one. Warpunk just came out in its early access, which is pretty exciting. I tank in every game that I play, Evil. I particularly enjoy tanking in New World. Well, I did enjoy tanking in New World when it first came out, because tanking is fairly dynamic in New World. A lot of the enemies, when they attack you, yeah, it is a random party. When they attack you, they kind of like walk towards you, and because of that, they end up like inside of you. And so you can't just stand in one location and tank. You have to like actively move around with most enemies, which is different than a lot of old school MMORPGs out there, where you just kind of stand around and tank and spank. And so I actually really enjoy tanking in this game when I'm playing content that's difficult enough that I actually need to be tanking. When obviously when the content isn't difficult enough that I actually have to give a crap, then things get really boring really fast. And it's very upsetting. But yeah, I'm not paying $30 for Path of Exile. I don't even know if I'm going to enjoy it. It's on GeForce Now, I'll play. Yeah, it'll come out on GeForce Now, and it'll come out for free eventually. The early access just goes out on the 6th. I don't know. It's not going to be difficult, Fader. The bosses in this are just not hard at all anymore. Because we have 725 gear score, these are only level 62 enemies. Like, we've gotten well beyond. We've gotten well beyond some of these older endgame dungeons. Should be a stomp. We have level 65 now. We just run through these. I think this will be the 3rd time I've beaten this quest, or this dungeon. Almost always gives me this one when I do randoms. I mean, we're not even kind of paying attention. I'm thinking if we're going to get some news about Light No Fire at the Game Awards. My older brother was saying the same thing. When are the Game Awards? We might have to sit and watch some of that on stream. That seems like some really easy content. And it seems like the kind of content I would want to put out because I like to just talk about stuff. Oh, you just went and found some random enemies to drag back over here. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for making life more difficult. It annoys me that people think they're doing smart things when they're doing stupid things. Like really, really stupid things. Do we need to go over there? What's going on? Why are we just all standing here? Where are we going? December 12th? Okay, excellent. Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely probably look at some of that because there is some important stuff that's going to happen at the Game Awards this year, I think. I'm very excited about it. I am so excited for Light No Fire to come out. That game will literally take over my life. And I'm so glad about it. I need a really good, immersive MMO. Preferably a survival MMO. To just take over my entire existence. Because I don't do anything else, right? Like, I mean, I guess you could be immersed in real life, right? If you wanted to have an immersive experience. But I don't go outside. So I don't want that. I want my immersive experience to be in this room, on this computer. What are we even doing? I'm like 90% sure we don't have to do whatever we're doing. We're just like running in freaking circles right now. Nope. Gotta kill some more stuff. Real life is too boring. Alright. Let's just go murk this fool. Yeah, see what happens when you don't let me attack the enemy first? It aggroes you, you freaking clown shoe. Oh, did we get in here without two of our players because they were just like picking their nose back there? That's hilarious. Oh, look, we have a flail upgrade. First target hit with a heavy attack within 3 seconds of using an ability will clear once. Wow, I can't talk. Mitigated protection. Increase your max health by 25% of your physical armor rating when the flail is equipped. Ooh. I think I want some of that. It's going to be really funny if these two actually complete this. Gonna be freaking hilarious. Don't think it's gonna happen though. Everybody get in the zone. Why are you standing right at the edge of the freaking zone? If you get locked out again, I'm gonna laugh at you. Alright, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I mean, they almost had it. It was kind of impressive, actually. Don't think I need any of these purples. Think we're good there. Definitely don't need any of these blues. Definitely don't need any of these greens. We don't need any of these purples either. Man, there is so much useless gear in this game now. Holy shiznit. And I don't need heavy gear that does whatever Unbroken Wind is. So I guess we get rid of that too. Cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Open all these up. Let's get the flock out of here. Oh, that wasn't the last boss. Whoops. I definitely thought that was the last boss. That's freaking hilarious. That is freaking hilarious. Why would you want my healer to die? That's so rude. Please work. But he's picking up our ally? Is that really a thing? Jeez. Yeah, you should totally just keep coming and doing the ones I'm doing. Seems like a great plan. Brilliant. Well then why would you want your brethren to get killed, Evil? I don't even understand. They're your friends. You should definitely come stand right next to me while people AoE me. It seems like a brilliant idea. No, I've never played a game called Homeworld before. Hey, look at that. We made it. Fantastic. Yeah, no, I've never even heard of a game called Homeworld before. What's it about? Pretty sure I've already gotten that glyph. Pretty sure I've already gotten that glyph. That's alright. 'Cause it's alright to have a good time. It's alright. Whoa, it's alright.
Thanks.
Alright, let's get the flock out of here. Sci-fi RTS. You know, I don't really play RTS games. I played some, like, Command and Conquer Red Alert when I was a kid. That's really the only RTS game I've ever played with any sort of regularity at any sort, or at any point in my life. And a little StarCraft 2 when it first came out. I am really bad at RTS games. There's too much micro control for me, and I've never really had good ability for high IPM. Alright, what did we get out of here? Some dark matter. Expedition bonus crate. Expedition roll bonus crate. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. And what do we get here? Strength, enchanted ward, strike conditioning, and health. Those are actually all very good. But that's a really low gear score, so we're going to get rid of that too. Would you look at that? I got absolutely nothing out of that dungeon. Absolutely nothing. Star Citizen is free for 14 days, so I guess I'm gonna play that for 2 weeks. You must have one heck of a computer. That game is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I want to try some Star Citizen, but that game has made so much money, and their monetization model is such garbage. Such absolute garbage. I just don't know if I can support that game. I mean, that's good. Identify the things that are important to you and invest in them. If you want to have a nice computer, have a nice computer. Alright, let's go do... Actually, let's get the 3 chests that I need to get here. Because I can. Get my 3 random epic crates. I don't know what their monetization model is, but I'll just play whatever they have for free. Yeah, their monetization model is selling ships in that game for like $1 bajillion. That's their monetization model. It's gross. I don't like it. They've got all these like packs and stuff that you can buy every time they put out a new ship, or every time they have a new cosmetic or anything like that. They put out all these packs and stuff like that, and they call them supporter packs, so you can support the development of this game. They've made like $700 million or something like that making Star Citizen. I mean, it's an obscene amount. Let's see. How much has Star Citizen raised? Yeah, over $700 million. Which is absolutely freaking insane, considering that the game isn't even out yet. And I refuse to believe that you could possibly raise that much money without either lying through your teeth or having an extremely predatory monetization model. That's just, I mean, there's no way. No way you could make that much money from a game that just straight up doesn't exist. And to have not made nearly as much progress. I mean, the game's in a barely playable state. Server meshing still doesn't exist. Like, you've made $700 million. That means if you paid every single one of your software engineers $1 million a year, you could have like 100 software engineers working on your server meshing. And obviously that's not how much those people make. They make like $150,000 a year. So the fact that you don't have just a huge team working on that and you've made that much money is pretty disturbing to me. Especially when all of that money was given to you predicated on you creating a game and creating this technology and releasing this vast open world. Why is this person's nameplate like stuck on my screen? What the hell? this vast, seamless open world MMORPG thing. And I think that's a great goal to have. And I think everybody really wants to support that. But people aren't giving you that money because they want a different version of the game or because they're willing to accept whatever you succeed at making. Right? You got that money based on the promise of server meshing technology. And so that money needs to go towards making that dynamic server meshing a possibility. And so any of that money that you're spending on literally anything else is in bad faith. And if you're not releasing any numbers, and I imagine if they had released any numbers about the size of their team and how many people they have specifically working on that, then I would have seen something about it, because I keep track of video game news, because that's what I do with all of my time, is play video games and watch YouTube. So I feel like I would have known if there was something going on, if we knew how many people they had or whatever working on things. So I am a little unhappy that they don't appear to be serious about delivering on what they've been promising for so long. That's not really acceptable. I understand they're still working on it, and that's great. Obviously, until it's done, you'll have to be working on it. But $700 million. Just saying you're working on it just isn't good enough anymore. There needs to be a breakdown. We're giving you $700 million. What are you spending that $700 million on? Because if it's just to make more ships and cosmetics to get more money out of people, then you're an asshole. Where's the itemized list? Because at that point, you owe that to the people who have funded your game. That's an insane amount of money for a video game budget. An insane amount of money for a video game budget. If you look at all the other games that were kickstarted right around that same time, in the big MMO Kickstarter era, you're looking at a couple mil is the most that some of those games managed to raise to make their games. So, just what are you doing, right? They're releasing new ships all the time, and some people who play the game say those ships are just slight variations of what is already available. That's absolutely true. Yeah, for sure. And I understand, you're making this huge world and having lots of different ships and having, it's like here in the United States, right? Every year, or not here in the United States, but here in the real world, every year, car companies release the new model of their vehicle. And so if you can kind of trace back through the years how vehicles have changed and how specific manufacturers have changed their manufacturing process. And, you can look at all that stuff, and that's really cool. And so when you create ships that are slightly different, but of the same make, different models, same make, that's totally fine, because that tracks with exactly what would happen when we become a spacefaring society, right? We're going to keep making new models of the same spaceships. So that's totally fine with me. The thing that's the problem is that you're using that in very much the same way that car dealers use their new models of vehicles. is you're just trying to entice people to spend more money that doesn't necessarily need to be spent, that doesn't change their experience at all. And it's solely about keeping up with the Joneses. Right? It's solely about having the new hotness. It's just like Apple releasing, their new phones every year and basically not changing anything on them. It's just like, EA putting out a new Madden or whatever, whoever produces the Madden games every year. It's just like Call of Duty producing the exact same game every single year. And they make little bitty tweaks to it, and they maybe change the game modes just a little bit. But those could have easily just been map packs. Those could have easily just been, really simple stuff like that that doesn't require a whole $60 purchase. And so what bothers me isn't that stuff like that is getting done, right? It doesn't upset me that Madden gets a new game every year. It upsets me that the new game for Madden every year is marketed in the single most expensive way they possibly can. They're doing whatever they can to make the absolute most money they absolutely can off of it. There's a streamer who used to be a Star Citizen streamer, and some of their streamer friends all quit playing because it's buggy state. They say it's not worth playing anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely always going to be true until the game fully releases. And it's going to be true until they get their server meshing technology figured out. And I understand wanting people to be able to play the game, especially when you've raised $700 million. People have to have something that they can go and access because, holy crap, I mean, I know personally, I know somebody who spent thousands of dollars on that game. So, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on something and then not at least be able to go explore the world that you've started making. Yeah, I mean, it's a very rudimentary game right now with a lot of its basic game systems just not online. I mean, it's an alpha state right now. And that's insane because the game's been getting made for more than a decade. And it's made $700 million already. And there are some big and valid concerns that the developer is maybe going to never finish the game. Right? Get it to a state where it at least delivers on enough of the stuff that they've claimed that they're going to give, and then just stop developing it, launch it as a 1.0, and then end all of their support for the game. Because they've been supporting the game for an extremely long time. Shit. That's bad. Stupid alligator. How obnoxious. How obnoxious. Yeah, but anyway, like I was saying, there's some legitimate concern that, because they've been supporting the game as sort of a live service game for literally years now, that the game is going to stop being supported as soon as it drops. And so you're going to get a 1.0 release, and then you're just not going to get anything else. And that's going to feel really, really bad if that happens, because then, a bunch of people who have supported the game but decided to hold off on actually playing until the 1.0 release are going to end up with a significantly worse experience than people who continued to play through the bugginess of this quote-unquote alpha experience. And that's really bad, and that's very concerning. And there's, a real possibility of that. The same thing is kind of true of Ashes of Creation. We're moving into this alpha, and by, the middle of next year, we're going to have a persistent alpha that's going to take us all the way into beta. And in fact, the persistent alpha is going to run alongside the betas, which is kind of weird. But we're going to have multiple years of this alpha coming out. And so you have to wonder, is that going to cut into how long they support the game as a live service game after the game launches into its 1.0 release? And I think it would be kind of insane to think that that's not what's going to happen, because, people just get burnt out on supporting games. People get burnt out on playing the same games. And so because your development has been so open, and because for literal decades, or a literal decade, people have been, excited about your game and following your game, and learning everything they can about the game that you're building and supporting your game. By the time it comes out, there's going to be a little bit of fatigue from the player base already about the game. And so, your player base isn't going to be as excited as they could be if it was this brand new thing that they didn't really know anything about. And there's just going to be less hype around your launch. Live service games nowadays have very low life. They die so quick. So they die super quickly because they incentivize moving on. And it's intentional, Quizza. Because that's the best way to make the most money. So if you have a game that's a live service game, and people spend, say you have a box price on the game, and most players spend most of the money that they're willing to spend on a game in the first couple of months that they play it. And the reason for that is they're extremely hyped at that time. They're enjoying the game the most they're ever going to enjoy the game. And they want to support the project because, either it's a free game and so they want to buy cosmetics, or maybe they bought the box price and they think that maybe the value was higher than what they actually paid for it. And so they want to go ahead and spend a little more money on it because they think they got more value than they spent. And so they're happy to support a little more. The problem is that feeling doesn't really continue for most people. Most people start to think, okay, well, I've already played this game or paid for this game, right? I've already supported, and so now I don't have the same desire to support. Mine. And so the game starts to make less money per player per time played. And that's extremely inefficient. If you don't think I'm going to stand right here where you've got this enemy trying to attack you, you are mistaken, my friend. There's a whole lot of people over here. But yeah, so they're going to start making less money per time that each player plays. And so that's just not good, right? It would be better to make a different game. Nerd. Got him. Yeah, have a good dinner, Quizzo. Enjoy yourself. Sorry, I keep getting interrupted in what I was saying because I keep fighting that person. You gotta focus too much. It was a rough fight. Yeah, so I mean, you start getting less money per time. And so it just becomes a better idea to move on to a new game. So the cycle of hype, launch, die makes those companies significantly more money than a consistent cycle like WoW has. And even, honestly, WoW sort of follows that same cycle, just without making new games. Right? They follow that cycle with expansions of their existing game. And they use, each of their new expansions, they use to sell more cosmetics and sell more stuff like that. So they follow very much a similar cycle of hype, launch, die, just to a less severe degree, I think. I think the average player count of World of Warcraft is still quite a bit higher But they have the benefit of just being a really old game and having lots of content and having lots of really diehard fans who grew up playing the game, and so they're loath to give up all of the stuff that they've accumulated within the game. And so you just kind of have a persistent audience that's just built into World of Warcraft because of its age. And because, I mean, they do a good job of making new content and making new systems and trying to stay with the times, even with an older game. Wait a minute. I didn't get this person's doubloons. My goodness. Went and got myself a kill. Didn't even get the doubloons. But that's just the best way to make money. Especially when you sell things that are quote-unquote permanent, like skins and stuff like that. People see a lot more value in that stuff than they see in temporary things like XP boosts or, you know, buying currencies in the game, or even buying power in a game is fairly short-lived because games naturally have power creep. And so I'm even more likely to buy a cosmetic item than I am to buy something that will make my character stronger, because I know that that cosmetic item is going to be able to be used with that character forever. And so I'm never going to lose the value of that item. And so if you have a cycle of hype, launch, die, and on the launch, or even, and this is something really insidious that they do, is they do the hype, and then they sell the cosmetics before the launch, and then the launch happens, and then you've already spent that money. So whether you enjoy the game or not, they've got you, right? Whether you enjoy the new expansion or not, they've already gotten your money for it. And that's a really bad way that things have started to go with games now, where a lot of times we're paying for games, or we're paying for expansions, or we're spending money to support games before ever having an opportunity to decide whether or not we like them. And that's, I mean, before we even really get to see what they are at all. You know, and I know we do that with movies, right? You go and you buy a movie or you rent a movie or whatever it is, and, you know, you don't get to see the movie before you pay for it. I get that. But it's very different when, you know, it's a video game and it's something that some people spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on supporting by buying, you know, cosmetic packs and supporter packs and all of this other stuff that they do to monetize unreleased games. I mean, for example, Star Citizen has made $700 million, and nobody knows what that game is going to look like when it finally launches. And that's kind of crazy. We could very well end up with a game that looks exactly like Star Citizen looks like right now. I think the only thing that's really a requirement, because so much money has been spent with the expectation of server meshing technology, that the only thing I think they can't avoid putting in the game, that they can't avoid developing, is that server meshing technology. And honestly, that's kind of a big reason why I think that the game isn't going to be supported for an extremely long time after it launches, is so much of their time and energy has gone into developing that. But while they're developing the server meshing technology, they're also trying to simultaneously develop a video game. And because they're building this system as they're building the game, there's a really good chance that the technology isn't going to work well with the game. Because as you build stuff side by side like that, and as you develop a better understanding of the system that you're building, a lot of times things that you've done to make previous iterations of your technologies work are incompatible with newer iterations of your technologies. And so you sort of have to hack them together. It's like, if you had an old iPhone charger and a new iPhone, right? You wouldn't be able to use those two things together, so you'd have to get an adapter. And that adapter is ultimately going to reduce the speed that your phone charges at, right? Especially if the new phone has the ability, because there's new battery technology or something, has the ability to charge faster, but your old charger just can't make use of that, then this new iteration of the technology just doesn't do anything. And that's very much going to happen with server meshing technology and Star Citizen. Is they're going to get to a point where they make the technology work really well, but they're already going to have developed this game to a point that they can't go back and change it enough that it is fully compatible with the new version of their meshing technology. And that's going to hold them back from having Star Citizen be as good a game as it could be. And so there's going to be a desire to abandon Star Citizen and to move on to a new project using the same server meshing technology, because then you can get a better version of server meshing technology and ultimately have a better video game. But then all of these people who have spent, $700 million supporting Star Citizen are immediately going to feel bad because either maybe you still support Star Citizen, but your whole team certainly isn't going to be on it, right? You're going to move at least some of your team to this new project. So they're going to have less people working on the game that they're playing, which feels bad. But you're also going to have, you're also going to have some portion of those people want to move on to your new project when it comes out, which is just going to mean that a lot of the money that got spent on Star Citizen is going to end up not having the value that the people who spent that money expected it to have. And that's just going to feel really, really awful for a lot of people. I like that you can swim in this game now, despite the fact that I'm in full heavy armor with my shield weighing me down. Can you dive? Is that possible? Doesn't seem like it is. Oh yeah, but I'm very concerned, and I'm very concerned about Ashes of Creation for the same reason. If they develop something really good, this node system, for example, is kind of along the same lines. It's a very interesting technology that is being integrated into a game that's already well into its development cycle and already has a significant amount of code that can't really be changed. And so that means that some of what's there is immutable. And that just means that if for some reason part of updating the node system means that you have to change something about the way something works, but it's such an important part of making a bunch of other systems work, then you can't do it. And so you're just going to end up with a worse version of the node system. And both players and Intrepid Studios are going to have a desire to see a new game with a better node system come out. And that's kind of just how human nature works, right? As soon as we realize that there's a way to improve on something, we want to improve on it. And it's very difficult to make those improvements to existing things. You can look at it as, if I had a bolt and I wanted to make that bolt better, or I really needed that bolt to fit into a socket that was really small, then I could shave a lot of material off of that bolt and then fit that bolt into that smaller socket. And that would make, the bolt better, because now it fits in the socket that I need it to fit in. But if in the future I find that it's better to widen the socket to make the socket better, I no longer have that ability unless I make a completely new bolt, because I can't necessarily add material to the bolt to make it bigger again without weakening the bolt's strength. But I could widen the socket, right? Because that's just removing material. And as long as there's still enough material on the outside of that socket, it wouldn't necessarily hurt the integrity of that socket at all. So now I'm ruining my bolt in order to make my socket optimized, and that's not good. And so what has to happen is I have to create an entirely new bolt, which I could do. But if that bolt is the size that it is because it goes through another part before it goes into that socket, then that other part has to have its socket widened. And maybe that's not possible. Or maybe the bolt is butted right up next against another part. And that part needs all of the material that it's got hanging off there. And so the bolt can only be that large, because otherwise it interferes with this other piece. And so those two things are incompatible. And so you can't make the bolt bigger to fit inside this bigger socket. And so you have to use the smaller, less optimum socket, or it doesn't work. And so the best thing to do would be to just take the whole thing apart and restructure the way the machine is built, so that you can have the big socket and the bigger bolt, and that other piece can just be moved somewhere else, so that all of the pieces can be as optimum as possible. Now, obviously, you didn't know that going in, and so you couldn't have moved those pieces around in that way before you got to the point where you needed to. And so this is just, this is engineering of all types, right? This is software engineering, this is structural engineering, this is mechanical engineering. Like, all types of engineering run into this problem where you think you've made optimum choices for space and for strength and for size and for all of these different things, and then as soon as you find a way to improve a single part of the whole, then you start to realize that the whole itself is no longer optimized because of those changes. And video games are software engineering, especially nowadays. The technology that goes into making good online live service games is insane. And so you're just going to keep running into these problems where you can't do the new things. You can't use the best iteration of your technologies in games that you already have. And that's also a part of why we have like new cars and stuff every year. Some of it is just marketing, right? Some of it is predatory. But some of it is also that they keep iterating on systems and they can no longer use the exact format of the older model cars. And so they have to change everything around, and so it becomes a new model. And we can't do that with live service games because people are still actively playing those games. People have spent time and money, and there's an investment in those games that if you just make a new one, unless I can carry over my investment of time and energy and money, then I don't want to play your new game, right? I want to play the game that I've been playing, that I've invested all this resource into. And so it's a very, very difficult position to be in. And ultimately, balancing that is one of the most important things that game developers do. And unfortunately, what publishers and CEOs have found is if they don't let people get too attached to the game, right? If the hype launch die cycle is fast enough, then they can just keep pumping out subpar games and ultimately make more money with less effort than they would if they, kept putting out expansions and, kept legitimately making a good product. And there's just no value in doing that. So we'll see. We will see what happens with these things. I am not optimistic. It is my assumption, just as a general rule, that everything I purchase or play or interact with in the world is what's known as the least viable product, or the lowest viable product. What I mean by that is that whenever I buy a video game or play a new video game, I just assume that it was the easiest thing to put out that would make me want to spend however much money it cost. There was no additional effort made to make the game any better than was absolutely necessary to get me to spend my 20 or 60 or 30 or whatever dollars. And it's very upsetting because of that, I see a lot of room for improvement in a lot of video games. Here in New World, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I don't even mean better visuals. I don't mean better animations. I don't mean stuff like that. I mean, on a structural level, there are issues with this game that seem almost intentional. For example, when the game first launched, you could own a zone. And when you owned a zone, you could apply taxes to that zone, and those taxes went directly to your guild. And so things were very structured in a way that meant that if you won an early war and took control of a good zone, then you just advanced significantly faster than everybody else. Your whole guild did. You just made tons and tons and tons of extra currency. And it put you in a position where until everybody caught up, right? Because there is an upper limit. But until everybody caught up, Nobody could be as strong as you. And that's kind of an obvious problem. There was no surprise there, right? If you give people rewards for victory, then victory begets victory until such a time as you reach the absolute maximum. And not even you reach the absolute maximum, but everybody that you're fighting against also reaches the absolute maximum, but through a slower path than you took, because you got the boost from that first victory and all of the subsequent victories that happened because of that first victory. Okay, so see, this is game theory in work right here. The most successful solution to the prisoner's dilemma, if you're potentially going to interact with another person multiple times, where you have to choose to cooperate or betray them over and over and over again, the most successful solution to the prisoner's dilemma is to cooperate first and then only betray them after they've betrayed you. And that if they don't betray you a second time, then you immediately forgive them. And even sometimes, to make it the absolute optimum strategy, sometimes you have to forgive them without retaliation, so that you don't find yourself in a retaliation loop if they're doing the same thing you are, right? Sometimes you have to be able to break yourself out of that retaliation loop. But because me and that person didn't attack each other, as long as we both continue to choose not to attack each other, then me and that person will combined end up with more resources than if we chose to attack each other. Now, as an individual, that person can gain more resources for themselves if they attack and betray me and take my stuff. But if they do that, then they open themselves up to retaliation. And if you get retaliated on and lose all of your stuff, then you ultimately end up worse off than you would if you just cooperated both of those times. And that's not actually true. In this particular case, you would end up maybe about equal. But I see that person again. Again, I have an opportunity to fight them. So this is our second instance of the prisoner's dilemma. So because neither of us have betrayed the other one, neither of us is going to betray here. And it's just going to keep playing out that way, and I am going to keep cooperating with that person until they betray me. If they betray me, then I'll betray them. And so right now would be a great opportunity for them to betray me. If they knew that both of these hordes were up here, then this changes the circumstances of the dilemma a little bit, because they see an opportunity for a significant boost to their reward for their betrayal. And so this is where I need to be sort of the most cautious. But if I see that person again, I'll cooperate with them. But you'll find, and so the only thing that this particular prisoner's dilemma doesn't account for is the interaction. So in the prisoner's dilemma, you can't interact with each other, right? I can't, if you betray me, I can't forcibly take what you earned through that betrayal. However, in a PvP MMO like this, if you betray me, then you still have to beat me. And if I beat you, then your betrayal yielded you nothing. And so the only time people will willingly betray people is if they have the ability to win that betrayal. And then the problem becomes you can't really retaliate against a person who can beat you to get your victory back or to get your rewards back, which means that in situations like this, the only option that the weaker party has is to cooperate. And if you're the stronger party, then there isn't any value in cooperation for you because you can get more by betraying because you know that you can't be defeated, or at least it's unlikely that you'll be defeated. And so something that games need to start looking at is finding a way to incentivize cooperation even in disparate power levels. One way to do that would be to make it so that you can't tell how strong another person is. For example, in New World, they do that. I don't have any idea what tier of equipment that other person is wearing. So I don't have any idea whether or not I can actually defeat them. Unfortunately, that only works until you reach the maximum power level, and then the assumption is that nobody's stronger than you. Everybody's only at least as strong as you. And the likelihood of that being true is less the faster you get to maximum power. So this is a different person, Madame Omni. And so now we're in a different repeating state of the prisoner's dilemma. So now I have another person who I can interact with. And so if I don't betray this person, right, I'm cooperating with this person, and so far they're cooperating with me. Then we both get to go about our merry way, and we'll gain, whatever amount of resources we can gain in our own efforts. Here's another cursed horde, nice. But now I have two groups of people that I'm interacting with in these one-to-one interactions. So this is also slightly different than the experiment that I researched. And by researched, I mean watched a YouTube video on. In that, in the experiment that they were running, you also didn't have these things happening directly around each other. Right? So my interactions with one player were not in the presence of another player. And so that also significantly changes the dynamic, because cooperating with everyone first means that if one of the people you've consistently cooperated with sees you maybe in a battle with somebody else, even if you're the person who betrayed this third party, they may very well come to your aid because you've continually cooperated with them. And so there's no way to know that beforehand, but we could certainly make a model. You know, you could come up with an algorithm for how you would choose to engage with other people who were in a betrayal state, right? So maybe one of the algorithms would say, I cooperate with everybody. So let's take the most successful um, one-to-one game theory algorithm is be nice, retaliate, forgive. Right? So you're always nice first. You only betray if you're betrayed. And you always immediately go back to forgiving if they don't betray you twice. And even sometimes you want to forgive them without betraying them for their betrayals because you want to be able to break yourself out of a betrayal loop. So let's take that formula there. And then let's say, if I've interacted with a person, say 3 times, and they've never betrayed me, then I will support them if I see them in a betrayal state. And then another one could say, if I see a person that I've interacted with 5 times, and I see them in a betrayal state, then I'll support them. But any less than 5 times, and I won't support them. Or any less than 3 times on the other one, then I won't support them. And so you have to have 5 or 3 positive non-betrayal interactions with somebody before you intervene if they're being attacked. But then the other is also true. So one of those may say, if I've had 3 positive interactions and that person sees me being betrayed and doesn't help me, then maybe I count that as their betrayal as well. And the same could be true for the other one, where I say, if I've had 5 positive interactions with this person and they don't help me when they see me in a betrayal state, then I consider that a betrayal. So what steps? And then on the other side, if they do help me when I'm in a betrayal state with another player, then maybe that gives them some bonus goodwill so that I will more quickly forgive them if they betray me in the future. Right? Maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't recognize that it was me, for example. And so instead of immediately retaliating, I will simply forgive maybe an extra 50% of the time, or even 100% of the time, because you helped me. So your next betrayal is basically a freebie. And then if you betray me again, then we go right back to the retaliation system. But once you add the dynamic of additional people, the prisoner's dilemma can get significantly more difficult. Okay, so now we've got Sweaty Guy. This person is immediately... Okay, so they jumped off their horse. I thought they were immediately going to go into a betrayal state. So this is a cooperation state. So now I've had 3 people here that, as long as I didn't attack them, have not attacked me. Which means that I've gotten to be here gathering up my doubloons for a really long time, and I haven't lost any of my doubloons. There's Arwen Black Swan, that's the second person. And again, I just don't betray that person. So now we've had 2 positive interactions. I've had 1 positive interaction with this new person, and the person that I used to have here that I've had 2 positive interactions with no longer seems to be here. So it looks like maybe I've still just got these other 2 people. Now, the other thing that you may need to consider is, because there is a limited number of resources here, there are a limited number of nodes to gather, and they only come back so often. While cooperating may be a positive thing, you also have to consider how long is somebody staying and taking up the nodes that you want. How many of those nodes are they getting? And how much more could you be making if you betrayed them and made them leave? How much more of the resource that you're after are you going to get? And so scarcity plays a role. Now, I think the scarcity in most PvP MMO games is little enough that operating based on that scarcity doesn't really help. These things come back frequently enough and getting enough doubloons that I don't feel a necessity to increase how many doubloons I'm getting by fighting these people, but there is an amount of scarcity that would make me betray the people here to get more access to these resources. I just don't think we're there. Now the other thing is, do I consider it a betrayal? I'm fighting, I know sweaty guys right up there. I'm fighting this enemy to try and get this cursed stash. If somebody came in behind me and took the cursed stash, do I consider it a betrayal? So now me and Arwen have had another positive interaction. So that's 3 for me and Arwen, and 2 for me and Sweaty Guy. The other question is, the longer those individuals stay here, the more interactions that I have with them, the more resources I know they have. Right? Because they're out here getting doubloons, just like I am. So that's another important part of the dilemma in this specific case, is that it's not just every time we cooperate, we each get 3 coins. It's that, so there's a new person, and that person immediately betrays. And absolutely can defeat me. And I don't think there's any way I can stop that person from defeating me. So that there is the position where they had no reason to cooperate, and this is the problem with PvP MMO games, is they have no reason to play the Prisoner's Dilemma game. Because they're so much stronger than most other players that immediately betraying and just constantly playing betrayal is a path to more currency for them, more rewards, more whatever. And so that's a really bad way for things to be able to break down, because you're now taking away the agency of other players, because I can't make any choices there. I can't go back now and try and fight that person and get my doubloons back, because they will still win that fight, right? They were significantly more powerful than me. And so now the whole system breaks down. Right? Me and those other 3 people or 4 people that I had positive interactions with were likely similar in power. And so anybody betraying anybody over there likely had potential negative outcomes for betrayal. But that person who just killed me has no concern that I'm going to come and try and kill them. I don't know what this person is doing. Are you trying to talk to me? Why is this person sending me their Steam ID? Oh, is that person that killed me just a second ago? Probably. Whatever. I'm not sure why this person is following me around. Oh, here we go. La-da-dee. La-da-dee-dee-dee. La-dee-dee-dee-dee. Dee-dee. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Bum bum. Failure. Silly goose. One thing that I don't think we have to consider, well, that's not true because other people will consider it, but the circumstances of a betrayal matter also. So, for example, that person did not betray me while I was fighting enemies, but instead waited until I was maximum health and then attacked me, which is significantly better, in my opinion, than just betraying me outright and taking advantage of me maybe being in combat already to try and kill me. So I now have a question. I want to betray them in the future. I can't necessarily betray them in a straight up fight because they do seem stronger than me. Whether that be skill or gear score, I don't know. They may just be better than me. But they do seem to be stronger than me. And so because of that, if I betray them, in a way that means I have the chance for victory, then that potentially has the ability to create a grudge situation where that person will get mad that they left me to heal up before attacking me, and then I betrayed them when they were in a vulnerable position. And so it's possible that they may never forgive that betrayal. We may just be stuck in a grudge loop where we just betray each other over and over and over again. And now I've made sort of a lifelong enemy. So you have to consider, again, should you only betray those people when the fight is even? And will that person continue to betray you every time they see you when the fight is even? Because if they're just always going to be betraying you when the fight is even, then it might be worth it to send them into that grudge state, because they were always going to betray you anyway, and they were always going to betray you in a position where they could win the fight. Because in a straight up 1v1, they're stronger than you, so they're always winning. So it may be worth it to go ahead and wait for opportune moments and betray them as often as possible. And just go into a grudge state with them yourself, knowing that they're always going to be betraying you. Game theory is interesting, but as soon as you start adding multiple variables to it, it starts to become very difficult to parse what actions and what reactions are going to yield what results. And I think that's why PvP MMOs try so hard to make things as open as possible. We have a faulty Gandalf there who's being chased by the blue-eyed. So probably they betrayed that person as well. So that tells me that that blue-eyed person is probably just out to betray everybody in 1v1 fights. They just want 1v1 duels. And so they come out here and they wait for people to be full health and then they attack them. Sort of willy-nilly. Which does not make them a cooperative person at all. The fact that they don't attack you when you're not severely damaged is not like a positive for them. Which is why I went ahead and betrayed that person there. Because it appears to me that they're constantly going to be betraying. And while faulty Gandalf probably didn't need my help, they will likely not attack me for a long time now. And so I think that was probably a positive interaction. And even in situations where So this isn't going to yield a lot of positive results right this moment. But this is how you develop a reputation. So as long as I consistently stick to these goals, then eventually people will come out here and see me and be able to anticipate how I'm going to interact with them. And so it's not so much about deciding how you're going to interact with others. It's more about creating a consistent set of rules for yourself to decide how you want others to interact with you. And I've actually made some mistakes on that. I get a little bloodthirsty sometimes, and I just go ahead and I attack random people. I did twice earlier today. And I need to stop doing that if I want to have a reputation out here in the lawless zone that says if you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. If you betray me, I'll betray you back. So, and if you consistently leave me alone, I will help you when you're in a fight. And if you consistently betray me, I will attack you when you're in a fight. Because it's difficult for people to know who you are after a few short interactions. But if I come out here, I mean, I play a lot, and I will play a lot, and I like coming out here, so if I come out here a lot, then I can develop a reputation that's fairly easy to identify, especially if the rules are hard and fast. And consistent and easy, right? So I'm not going to add some of the variables. For example, I'm not going to add how long a person has been out here as a variable. That is a reasonable variable to use to decide whether or not you're going to betray somebody. But I'm not going to. I am always going to stick to the same, if you betray me, I'll betray you rule. And it may take some time, but I think that eventually that will put me in a position to be interacted with the way I want to be interacted with. And that actually brings up an idea. So Albion Online has a death screen. Right, every time you're killed, you can open up your death screen and see who killed you and see exactly how they killed you and all of that stuff. See their gear, everything. So what if, through that death screen, never mind. Because then only when people killed you would you be able to interact with that system. And that would mean that you would only ever get negative interactions. But there needs to be something that you can do. A system of reputation that you can actively change for people. Some way that every time you interact with a person, you get this option to decide whether or not it was a positive interaction. Or maybe it should be automated, right? Every time you interact with a person in a PvP zone, maybe automatically the game decides whether or not you betrayed that person. It should be a relatively simple binary, did you attack them or did you not? And then that can... Oh, it's all blue eye, old blue eyes again. Silly goose. This is ridiculous. He is absolutely in an always betrayal state. And because I betrayed him, he's likely going to hold a grudge. And maybe even seek out to betray me. Which is honestly kind of funny. Now they've gone like the other way. I think they probably went around to try and catch me at the... I don't know. I can't beat them though, so... I'm not terribly interested in trying to fight them. I mean, I might be able to beat them, maybe, if I get lucky. But they are definitely stronger than me. And I'm not necessarily great, and I'm not necessarily set up for PvP. So, there's a pretty high potential. But because that person was always going to fight whenever they found me in a good 1v1 state, right, where I was full health, and where they didn't feel like they were taking advantage of the situation, just because they were always going to try and do it on even footing doesn't mean that that's not a betrayal state. Because while this is a PvP game, they are stronger than me. And interacting in PvP instead of just cooperatively gathering is a betrayal state, no matter what the circumstances. And so if they're always going to be doing that, if they're always going to be putting themselves into that betrayal state, then I have to retaliate. And you could consider the situation in which they retaliate, or which they originally betrayed me, right? Because originally that betrayal happened when I was full health. And so you would think, you know, if you're going to betray them under the same circumstances. But because we already know that they're going to beat me in that situation, the only way I can retaliate and win is to retaliate when they're in a negative position. Now, I can also immediately forgive, right? So my goal here is to try and show them okay, we've got an Agent 0. So my goal here is to try and show that person, if you betray me, if you fight me, then I'm going to look for an opportunity to betray you when I'll win. And if you don't betray me the next time you have an opportunity, then I can just forgive and then not betray them the next time. But it is more difficult to get that across to somebody who's stronger than you, because there are less situations where they're going to see your cooperation as forgiveness, because they have to be in a position where you could legitimately kill them. So if they're not weak at all, And it's also difficult if they have an ego, right? So if a person just thinks the world of themselves and thinks that they can defeat you no matter what all the time, then you're never being given an opportunity to cooperate with them in their own eyes, because they're always assuming that your cooperation is based entirely on your inability to kill them. Right? You're going to lose that fight anyway. Okay, so there's two people I've never interacted with that are fighting. So I'm going to ignore that fight because I don't have any reputation with either of them. So getting involved basically means I betray both of them. Hey, what's up, Quizza? What's... Yeah, so that person's never going to not betray me. Also, welcome back, Quizza. I don't know if I said that earlier. I'm getting into a little bit of a pickle here. I need to go get... Yeah, I have enough coins. I actually want to go try something, so I'm going to go back. Yeah, but we've just been talking about game theory this whole time, and how to develop a reputation in an open world PvP system. And what certain interactions might mean to different players. I think the next game is Delta Force PvP, so eventually I'll give up. Yeah, I have that problem too. Is this just a regular iron vein, or... Ooh, it is just regular iron. Interesting. Yeah, I love PvP games, but I am kind of a trash can. So playing them tends to aggravate me. And make me rage quit. So I definitely understand that. Hey, there's Agent Zero. Lord Jameson. Delta Force is kind of like an extraction game, right? Whoops. Didn't realize the water was so deep, or that jumped off into the water there. Didn't realize. I thought that was a path down to like a lower level. The Greek freak. Always with the betraying. La 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 la. Boop. Whoops. I jacked that up. Boop. Haha. You suck. Yikes, extraction, large scale PvP warfare, stuff like that. Interesting. Interesting. You are sucky, you are sucky. Ha 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 ha. Dum dum. I like the idea of extraction games. I think they're really fun. And this is very much sort of an extraction format for this PvP mode here. And I think that's really good. And I think that extraction style gameplay is probably a good thing to add into a lot of other games. But I don't necessarily think that it stands alone very well. Give up on installing Star Citizen, that's funny. Yeah, it's a bit. Oh, I'm 33 short. Or 23 short, that's too bad. Let's go rifle through all of my chests and see if maybe I've got some extra doubloons somewhere. Ooh, let's also open this. What do we get? Ooh, mining clothing pattern. How exciting. Hey, what's up, Khaleesi? How are you today? How goes life, the universe, and everything? The strength, fortified recovery. Refreshing and thrust protection. Well, for sure, we're getting rid of this and this and that. Putting that in there. Alright, let's go look through our other storages. That should just be those. This doesn't have what I'm looking for. This doesn't have what I'm looking for. Oop. This should just have those. Headless keys is where we are. Monarch's Bluffs. Morningdale doesn't have what I want. The Bullseye. All good just getting an ass whooping from level 50s when I'm still in tier 3 gear. Oh no. Like PvE level 50s or PvP level 50s? Did you go back into the PvP scenario? Game's $80 for me. Damn. What game is that, Quizza? PvE, oh, okay. I was about to say, why are the level 50s picking on you when you're in tier 3 gear? It's garbage. But you have to go to a level 50 zone to get attacked by level 50 PvE enemies, so I feel less bad for you. I was just checking New World on Steam. It's like $80. Yeah, it's annoying. I honestly wouldn't recommend this game to anybody who doesn't already own it. I just happen to already own it, and so I'm playing it. But I don't think we'll see. They've got a roadmap out. They've got some new stuff coming soon. For example, in January, when their next season starts, they're going to have seasonal servers, which I think is going to be sort of like Once Human servers. I don't know if you're going to have to make new characters or if you're going to sort of transport your existing character into these seasonal servers. They're going to have like special rewards and stuff like that that you can't get from regular play. So it might be worth it in that situation. You know, that's a good point, Khaleesi. The game does make you go into higher tier zones to gather mats. Just be really sneaky. Get some transformation cookies and some invisibility and go in there and just open up chests to get the resources you need to tier up. And then you'll be good to go. And then come back with your tier 5 gun and shoot him in the face. Shoot him right in the face. Oh yeah, probably, Quizza. So the problem with Albion is there is never a scenario where it's a good idea to engage in the open world PvE. I mean, it involves not getting an ass whooping, Khaleesi, so there's that. But because of the way Albion is structured, and because of how easy it is to move around without PvEing, there is no point in engaging in the PvE in that game. Because it's just better to have a PvP build and then go kill people who are engaged in PvE. And then just take whatever. And there's also a huge power disparity between the highest tier and lowest tier players, but they're still all out there in the same areas. And that's bad. And so, yeah, I mean, just the PvP of that game is just designed really poorly. And with a couple of easy changes, they could make the PvP in that game extraordinary. But they refuse to make those changes, and so they're just going to constantly only have, you know, so many people playing that game. Because they're stupid. And so I just can't play it anymore. It was angering me way too much. Let's see, what should we do? Let's do some more. We have character things. This is not... Ooh, you know what I haven't done today? I haven't done any OPRs today. They're all broken, so I have no idea. And that's, like I've said earlier today, that's really the problem, is a lot of games are just kind of the minimum viable product. There is a lot of work that needs to be put in to developing legitimately good systems for interaction, because there have to be rules. The minimum viable product for interplayer interaction is a free-for-all. And that's what PvP MMO games create. And then they say, you know, you guys make the rules and you guys enforce the rules, or you will enforce the rules by playing the game in a certain way. And that's bullshit. You can't do that. But it costs a lot of money to bring in people who, you know, consultants who know a lot about interpersonal interaction and how the average person will react to certain stimuli. And you need to bring those people in, and you need to have... Well, I got put like right in the middle of this. That sucks. But yeah, so the problem is that you create these minimum viable products and then you put them out there and the interaction has no control. And so the worst possible interactions become the ones that are so prevalent because they become the best ways for the most powerful people to gain the most value. And you don't want that. Right? Your maximum value should be obtained by your weakest players. And the stronger you get, the less value per resource that you should be getting. And that resource could be time, that resource could be, your life, that resource could be whatever. But the game design needs to give the greatest percentage value to your lowest tier players so that they can catch up. But in a free-for-all system, the opposite happens. Because in a free-for-all system, the most powerful people end up being able to control other people's gameplay. And when that happens, the most basic form of control is extortion. And so that's what those players do, right? They end up in a position where they have the ability to gain value from other players for nothing, but the promise of not taking even more from them. And that allows you to ultimately gain more than you would otherwise. Because you can extort more people than you can kill. And so extortion becomes the quickest path to power and the quickest path to wealth. And that's just a horrible freaking system. And every lawless system will end up that way. Go running in there yet, dude. My goodness. Pushed in a little early there. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, I will be playing something else at some point. It might not be next week, but eventually this game will end up pissing me off just like the rest of them. But it's because they just don't put in the requisite effort. you have to curate your online interaction experiences. You cannot just allow the player base to set up the social rules of a game by leaving everything just free for all and expecting them to do that. Because you will just end up with systems of extortion and grief. Because that's just the easiest system to create. And it yields significant value. And it's really freaking annoying. And we got killed. It's weird that it just dropped me into the middle of that. I didn't realize it would do that. That was the first time I didn't join one that was right at the beginning. And I'm kind of annoyed by it. Kind of annoyed by it. Alright, well that was fun. And by that was fun, I mean that wasn't fun. I don't think I want that either. I need to go get a couple more coins since I'm short 23. I'm gonna go in this other way to try and avoid that person who was trying to kill me all the time over there. The next game I'll probably play, Quizzo, is gonna be Path of Exile 2 when its 1.0 launch releases and it's free. And hopefully it's on NVIDIA GeForce Now. And that'll probably be the next game I play. Depending on how much fun I end up having in this game. I do need to join a company, but I need to get my gear score up first, I think. Because I would like to participate in some wars and do some stuff like that, but I don't want to be in charge of that stuff like I was last time I played this game. Because I am not good at that. Because I don't want to have to hold people's hands and tell them how to do things and other whatnots. I like executing the strategy, not creating the strategy. That's not true. I like creating the strategy, not executing the strategy. I like executing the strategy from my own perspective. I don't like executing the strategy by, getting lots of people to all execute the strategy. But I like to come up with the idea and then somebody else actually get everybody else to do it. I think I'll get some sleep. My eyes are shutting down. Good. Good deal. Get you some sleep, Quizza. I'm sure you need it, you insomniac motherfucker. I'm also kind of getting a little hungry here. Ooh, there's so many chests over here. Somebody hasn't been over here in a while. The Flotsam Gate. That's where I am. You dead. You ain't here, you dead. I really like these open world PvPvE zones. Like a lot. This one is much more fun than Albion Online, in my opinion, because the power level of all the enemies, or all the people, is pretty similar. And also I don't lose all my stuff every time I die. I understand why full loot PvP systems work or exist, but goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. They are punishing when you're not super good at the video game. And I don't like it. I very much prefer losing some of the resources I've gotten on that trip. I like the idea of the extraction mechanic, where you can only lose what you've picked up on that trip, instead of being able to lose everything. My dear Barbosa. No, Barbarossa. Ba 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 and ba 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 and take my hand. Y'all ever seen Surf Ninjas? Greatest movie of all time. But it gives me enough to buy the thing that I want to buy, and then I also want to make some food real quick. I'm getting a little peckish here. Gross. Still 30 degrees outside. It is so cold in my house right now. Not having a heater sucks a butt. Sucks a big old butt. Let's go buy this thing, though, and see. What are we gonna get here? How lucky are we? Apex Gold Cursed Chest, Apex Gold Cursed Boots. Let's just go with chest first. Give me one of these. What do we got? 725 strength, leeching cyclone, slash conditioning, and health. That's actually not terrible if I was using a great axe. That's actually pretty good if I was using a great axe. How sad. Probably hang on to it. Might go ahead and rock a great axe build at some point. They're pretty good for chasing people down. We shall see. Alright. I am going to go use the restroom and make some food and stuff like that real quick. It's probably going to take me about 5-10 minutes because my microwave broke, so I have to do everything on the little griddle that we have here. So yeah, gonna take me a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Alrighty, we back. Still gotta eat my food. I'm here. Got some green beans and quesadillas. They are delicious. I freaking love green beans. My grandma on my dad's side makes a killer green bean casserole. I just pulled these bad boys out of the can and heated them up. Obviously, I'd prefer to have some fresh ones, but, well, the ones in the can are cheaper. Oops, sorry. Alrighty. Oh, I left my freaking water. That sucks. I am not going back for it. I'm all bundled up. 30 degrees here right now. 30 degrees, no heat. Which I suppose isn't terrible. Let's take a look at the forecast. Forecast. Let's see what temperature it's supposed to get. I'm pretty sure in the next couple of days it's supposed to get all the way down to like 17. Let's see. The low today is 24. Low tomorrow is 22. The low on Monday is 16. And then we go back up into the 30s. Yeah, we're going to be in a bad way on Monday. Should be fine today and tomorrow. But Monday is gonna be a rough one. Not really sure what we're gonna do about that. Because I doubt that my blower motor is gonna come in by then. Since it's a holiday weekend this weekend. That's gonna suck. That's gonna suck a whole lot. I might not stream that day, depending on what the temperature is during the actual day. Because sitting with my hands outside of my blanket right now, my hands are pretty cold. They warm up a little bit as we play, but they're pretty chilly. So if it was 10 less degrees, I might actually be a little concerned. I also might need to leave my water running just a little bit. Try and keep the pipes from freezing. We'll see. I think most of my piping is like on the interior walls. I don't think there's a lot of stuff that runs through the exterior walls. We'll probably be okay. But we'll keep a little something running just in case, just a little drip. Worth it. It's worth it. But today and tomorrow will probably be alright. So we probably won't worry about that. Let's go do another random dungeon here. Random expedition. Alright. That was quick. That was real quick. 10 seconds. Let's see what expedition we get. Hopefully it's an easy one. I don't think I recognize this one. Must mean it's not an easy one. Level 60 enemies, okay. Well, can't be that hard, right? Don't you shield bash me, you little nerd. Oh my goodness, can we not get on the right 3 freaking things? It's not, it's up there. It's not G. Get off of the... Oh, there were things over there too. Okay, well, never mind. I'm the asshole. I did not see. I am the asshole. Let's see. My allies are so good at standing on the same side of an enemy as me. Let me tell you, so good. And I think it's fantastic. Because, you know, when they stand on the same side of an enemy as me, it means that that enemy can't hit us both. But no, wait. But it means the opposite of that. Oops. There for a second I thought I was summoning a boss. Okay, well everything over here is locked, so we must have to go the other way. Why did all this stuff spawn here? Oh, it must be that we pressed that button? Did we press the button? No, we didn't press a button. I'm confused. I am oh so very confused. That's alright. I don't actually have to know what the hell's going on. This dungeon is really confusing me. I don't really understand how it works. Are we now supposed to go back this way? Is this what we're doing? Oop. Well, that unlocked, so must be. Must be. Here's hoping. Is this lady gonna try and kill us all now? Yep, she's definitely gonna try and kill us all now. You notice how I'm standing on one side of this enemy, and you're standing on the same side? When you do that, her attacks hit you. If you don't do that, her attacks won't hit you. This is silly. While I was eating, I accidentally tried to, like, breathe in a green bean. It did not go well. Well, that was interesting. Archaic greaves of the soldier. Running through the dungeon, killing all the enemies. Running through the dungeon, killing all the enemies. Killing all of the enemies, killing all of the enemies. I wanna kill the enemies, we gonna kill the enemies. This Agent Thorn person is really starting to upset me. Like, just get with the group, dude. Sorry, I didn't mean to clear my throat in y'all's ear. It was an accident. Rolling down the street, smoking indoors, sipping on gin and juice, laid back. Oh shoot, is this the boss? This is the boss, isn't it? Oh no. ¿Por qué? Why? Do we need to kill these? Alright. I see it. Nope. Why do I have this orb attached to me? Does it go in here? Yes, it does. Okay. Holy shnikes, y'all. Holy crap. What an experience. People are over there doing something. Is there another chest over here? Oh, I just never talked to the person at the start. Whoops. Or didn't do something that I needed to do for the quest or something. Don't know. Don't care. Don't know. Don't care. Oh, chicken salad. Hmm. We need to do one more expedition today. Need to do... These achievements literally don't mean anything. Need to do my 3 soul trials, which I really freaking hate the soul trials. Problem I have with soul trials is they feel primarily like DPS checks, and I'm a tank, so that's cool. You know what I mean? By cool, I definitely mean the opposite of cool. Yay! Wait, I'm in a company? No. Some nerd just invited me to a company. That's really annoying. So freaking annoying. If you're the leader of a guild or a company, don't just run around inviting people. Why is it taking so long to get into this outpost rush? This don't even make no sense. Yay, invited to outpost rush. Let's go fight some nerds. Going and fighting nerds. Do 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 do. Steve walks slowly down the street, spring pull way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Ba-doom, 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 boom. Ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. Whoops. Boom. Ba-doom, ba-doom. Ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. Ba-doom, ba-doom. Let's go kill some people. Shoot them right in their face. I say shoot. I don't actually use a gun in this game. Oop. My goodness, I think we're gonna lose this one. I think we're most definitely gonna win or lose this one. Oops, I forgot. Oh my goodness. They do so much damage. It's so hurty. So hurty. Yeah, I mean, none of these are ever even remotely even fights. And it's really too bad because OPR should be a really fun, interesting system. But if you can't even balance the teams based on composition and gear score, then what's even the point? Like, I'm not asking for skill-based matchmaking. I'm not asking for a ranking system. I'm not asking for anything other than a chance to actually win every time I come in here. But look at how quickly they've pushed us back to our primary zone here. Like, this is done. This is over. They're going to take over all three of these, and we're never going to get a single one of them back. Which is insane. But this is a 20 on 20, right? So you should probably have like 5 tanks, 5 healers, 10 DPS on each team. And if we can't get that composition, then don't start the match. Because there's no reason for one team to have, you know, all the healers they need, and one team to have no healers at all. Like, this is not fun. We're pushed all the way back to our entrance already. There's no enjoyment in that. And it's not a skill-based matchmaking thing, right? The other 20 players aren't magically all better than us. It's 100% a composition thing. And there aren't mechanics in OPR that make it possible for you to win without engaging the enemy in combat. That's not a thing. That doesn't exist. And so I'm confused. If your whole thing is you win by being better at combat, then why is combat not the most equal thing in your OPR? Why is it possible for me to end up fighting against a team that significantly outpowers me? There's no value in this. And either it's a composition problem or it's a gear score problem, right? There's no way that there's this much of a skill gap between our two teams. Because they pushed us all the way back to our very first spot, to our entrance of our spawn. I mean, almost instantly. It was just a straight walk into our spawn. And that don't make no dang sense. We're not go running in there yet. We're gonna lose. Dum-dums. Can't do nothing, 'cause we're outpowered by a lot. I also understand that sometimes it's fun to be on the side that just absolutely obliterates and gets the win. Like, I get that. But is it more fun to be on that side than it is unfun to be on the other side? Because for every time you get to have fun being on the side that just raffle stomps the enemy, somebody has to be on the side that's getting raffle stomped. And I know people complain about matchmaking systems, especially skill-based matchmaking, a lot, because they say, oh, well, it turns every game into a really difficult game. And, you know, sometimes I just want to get in and I just want to relax, but I'm always playing against people who are as good as me, and so I never get to relax. And so I hate skill-based matchmaking. But the problem there is, if you don't have matchmaking of some kind to make teams as even as possible, then there is a subset of players who never get to engage in a match that they might be able to win. And so those people will just stop playing. And when those people stop playing, the average shifts, because that's how averages work. And then you have a new group of players who are at the bottom who are always going to feel like they can't win. And as that progresses, eventually you get to a point where even if you don't have skill-based matchmaking, you only have good players in the game. And so you're right back to where you were, where you have to be trying really hard in order to win. And so all you've done is gotten exactly back to the exact same spot, except now the game is dead because most of the players quit because they had to keep playing really hard people, and they couldn't play anybody who was even near their skill level. So not having some sort of matchmaking, at a minimum, you have to have matchmaking sorry, got sort of distracted there. At a minimum, you have to have matchmaking that controls for composition and level, if you have level differences, or gear score, or whatever your power difference is. You have to have matchmaking to even those things out. This is a life staff. It looks like a spear. That's interesting. Do I care about this bow? It's only 616. No, I do not. Do I care about this? 681. Trench and recovery. Keen and empowering whirling blade. Keen and empower are sort of in opposition there. Alright, what do we got here? Stone Soul. Don't care about that. Too low level. Too low level. Too low level. And omnidirectional evade on a heavy piece is useless. Alright, good deal. Alright, I'm having a little trouble. Whenever I tried to like breathe in that green bean earlier, it's just been messing me up, and I keep having to clear my throat, and there's something like stuck down in there. So we're probably going to go ahead and call the stream for the day. I can work on my long form content instead. So thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks for being in the chat. I hope everybody has a good day, and I will see you next time. Which